I'm going to introduce the next panel that I'm very excited to bring on, which is Fashion is the Future of Media and Entertainment, being led by Alex FINNIE, anchor and reporter. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. How's everybody doing? I'm so excited to kind of get into this conversation. First of all, you're going to love our panelists that are here today. They will inspire. They are complete just powerhouses when it comes to their industry and their careers, and we're going to talk all about it. And I'm going to introduce them right now, so just bear with me as I just read off just a little bit about each person I'm bringing up to the stage. First, I'd like to bring on Larry Namer, the founder of eTelevision and co-founder of Academy of Arts, Science, and Culture. Wherever you want to sit. And now I'd like to bring on Molly Rogers, renowned costume designer. She says sweaty costume designer. Listen, welcome to Miami. It is hot this week, okay? With no cold front in sight. On that note, I'd like to also bring on Danny Santiago, renowned stylist and fashion editor. So we are gonna get into some things. We were kind of talking a little bit before we even came on today. Molly, you and I were kind of talking about, we're just gonna have fun. Like, we have questions, but we're also gonna hopefully get some audience feedback too. Why not, right? Let's kick back, relax, and enjoy the ride. So listen, I have some questions written down. Just bear with me while I open up my paper here as we roll into this. I want to first start with, I think, fashion, right? Because, look at the audience, right? We all love fashion, we all love sustainability, and we all love pushing the movement and the culture forward. So my first question, I think, is gonna be for you, Molly. Are you ready? Or do you still want to cool off a bit?
Can you hear me through this?
I think you can you guys hear Molly?
Can you hear me? Okay. There's a little feedback. Let's try it.
I think we're good. We should be good. So Molly, the first question, first of all, can I just say, I talked to you when we were walking in. I said, excuse me, who doesn't know the show Sex and the City, the spinoff, and Just Like That? Fabulous, when we're talking about fashion. She's like, oh yes, it's just a job. I'm like, no, girl. Literally, like, we all have it set for when it airs every day or every week on HBO. And let's talk about the past 3 years, which I think this is so important, this question I have for you. These past 3 years, when we think about the history making, the monumental moments, how has fashion been used as a force of conversation and change?
Ooh, that's heavy.
It's heavy.
Well, I don't know, has it been 3 years since COVID? I feel like it has.
Yeah.
And COVID was a game changer for me, and I think a lot of other people. You're by yourself. It sparked a lot of creativity and craziness. A lot of people went nuts. And I felt like when we came back for first season of And Just Like That, it felt like the industry had sped up. I don't know if that's because everything was so quiet and alone and nothing was moving, but I feel like things really sped up, and I know that now when we film very fast, and we film double units, and it's really, really quick because there's so many streaming platforms and they need the product. Does that answer that question?
I think you did a fantastic job answering that question. And I want to springboard that question into you, Danny, because I know your expertise, the list can go on and on. So when we're talking about costume designers, when we're talking about the question I have here in terms of something that we've heard before, the concept of shoppable TV. Do you know what I mean? Like, can you kind of expound on that a bit?
For us, because we get so much exposure prior to the outfits even being shown on the actual show, because we shoot in New York and on the streets, there's so much that people get to see prior to the show even airing, which is 5 months down the line. And a lot of times when we use certain things, certain brands and designers, there are people that are there that can absolutely tell you which piece that was, where it came from, who the designer is. I mean, they don't contact us. They all have all that information, then they put it up on the internet, and things just go viral. You know, they sell out, things are on back order. So there's a lot of eyes on us when we do our things, and we show, you know, everything from different designers to vintage, you know, great accessories and stuff like that. But people track it down and people find it, and you know, it gets placed, and these are the things that we love to be able to expose people to, and some of the brands and stuff like that, especially the newer brands and younger brands. It's a great way to expose them.
I would like the technology to catch up
Yeah.
with, I would like to watch TV and whatever show, click on or have a QR code and be able to purchase that sweatshirt that Carrie's wearing. And it's just not there anymore. It's too big an animal.
Yeah.
It's a studio.
Yeah.
It's a network. It's
Yeah.
many, many chains and levels of people. And I mean, 15 years ago, I was talking to these Israeli guys who were really heavy into tech, and they were trying to figure out how you do that, because I feel like it would be great to update QVC or HSN. It's like, those are like watching soap operas.
I mean,
Right, Larry?
I kind of agree.
last year, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a scene where Carrie's carrying a bag where she's walking through the park, and it was a Gucci Balenciaga collaboration bag. And that's something that when we were asking for bags, that was something that they were going to actually hold off to put it out until we actually aired. So that was, you know, something that we had done with them, and it worked out great, you know, because the timing was perfect and they held back the bags. That doesn't always happen with a lot of these brands because they're already in production and they're already supposed to fall in certain times when they're supposed to be released. But that was something that we're actually doing. It worked out really well. I think they got a great response off of that.
It's disappointing when it's not in the store and it airs.
Yeah.
Do you know? It's like, wah, wah.
Yeah.
I could only say that's like in our industry, the idea of doing what do we call it, like a push on your phone when you get an alert about a story and then you click it and it's like page not found. It's like, wait,
Right.
you know, hold
Yeah.
on. Why do we push that? But no, you know, I think that before I come over to you, Larry, because I have some questions for you as well. While I'm on you, Danny and Molly, when we talk about and just like that, the process behind the costume design for each character, right? Because you have so many characters and all of the style, all the fashion, it's just so thought out, it's so fabulous. And because there are so many different and unique and
Alcohol.
universally statement. I mean, it's just so unique. All the styles are so statement worthy in and of themselves. What kind of, in terms of the start to finish, with how you have an idea and you bring it to reality, can you kind of take us through that a little bit, that process?
I mean, everybody is very familiar with the three main girls, and that was something that Patricia Fields and Molly had established back from the series, so you knew very much who these girls were, the lane that they were in, and the style that was created back then, and now just transitioning and bringing it back up to now modern time, where we're at, the new brands that they're wearing, the new designers that they love, but those characters already sort of had a very distinctive look and style to them. I think for us, you know, when we got the first script and we looked at it, we read over, you know, MPK had a little bit of information for us as far as what the girls were supposed to be like, the new characters that were coming in. And, you know, of course we discuss it, we talk with him about it, Molly and I get together, we start to throw some ideas around, because we really wanted to give them a very distinctive look as well as the main girls did. And that was something that we had a lot of fun, we had a lot of talks. You know, we created what we feel very distinctive looks for each character, for Naya, for LTW, and for Seema. And, you know, mood boards and just looking off of collections and what's going on and our inspirations from different things, because we're
The street.
The street, yeah. We're so inspired by what we see in New York City. it's, everywhere you go, every turn, there's something that's inspiring either by somebody's style or something that we see that's on in an art gallery or something that we see in a window of a store that helps us kind of compose the ideas of what we want to do with these new characters.
And I think one thing that you had said, Molly, in the beginning when I asked you the first question about fashion is it seems as though, you said it's been 3 years, like time has sped up, right? But media in terms of TV, film, costume design, whatever production, right? It's continuously, it's like a constant evolution, and it's constantly working to keep up. So Larry, that's where I come to you with this question that I have. And I was reading up a little bit on you, okay? Look, I am a journalist. I do a little bit of my research here. And obviously your name is known everywhere. But in a recent interview, you described your mind as curious, adventurous, and open. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So in the world of media, I want to springboard off of that. This is not only important, but it's necessary when I was thinking about just the advancement and the evolution in a fast-paced, ever-changing field. So, how have you stayed at the forefront of change in the media industry?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me why my mind works the way it does, and the answer is, when I was 1 year old, my mother dropped me on my head, and there's no other good explanation other than that. But, for me, it's fun to be at a fashion event, and if everybody remembers the original Sex and the City and the famous Carrie sweater, well, my bracelet is by Richie Rich, who did the Carrie sweater. And this is my concession to fashion. Richie thinks that I dress too all black, and he's coloring me up. I spend a lot of time, I study pop culture, and I've been very in tune to pop culture. Not just in the US, E! obviously is, done pretty well, and people either love me or hate me for the Kardashians, but they are what they are. People forget that, in the fashion world, I also did Fashion Police, and those kind of shows. And we were pretty influential, and Joan was fabulous. And we really started the whole, getting people on the Academy Awards who were walking and not going, what's your next project, tell us about your next movie, but like, hey, who are you wearing, and stuff like that. So it was a very irreverent look. Alan and I, my partner and we always felt that Hollywood is funny shit, and don't make believe it's like rocket science and stuff. So we took a very lighthearted view. And then for me, I've kind of parlayed that. I had #1 TV show in Russia for 10 years, 5 days a week for 10 years. Because I just figured that they have enough bad news there, they need to have mindless soap operas. So we did that, and then I kind of went into China, and I was telling Molly before that one of the things I've done in the shopping area there is, first, the shows are incredibly important there in terms of driving fashion. Sex and the City was huge, driving fashion choices among now women 40 plus, and then followed by Gossip Girl, and then we did a show there that was, instead of Spoiled Rich Girls in New York, Spoiled Rich Girls in Shanghai. But in China, I only produce in Chinese, I only produce in Mandarin. But in the show, one of the girls wears great shoes, and they go, hey, those are great shoes. Yeah, I get them on sparkle.com. 2 episodes later, those are great shoes. Yeah, I told you I get them on Sparkle. We actually own Sparkle. And on the production budget of the show, we have a shoe designer, and we did Shoe of the Month Club. So you would sign up for the Shoe of the Month Club, and you get an email saying, here's next month's, shoe. Here are the 2 alternatives. Which one do you want? So when we went to manufacture the shoes, we already knew how many were going to be in every style and every size. And plus, I already had your credit card, so we actually manufactured them on the people's money. So it turned out to be a great business model. But, in talking with, the idea of fashion, everybody keeps going back to, well, I'm friends, I want to click and buy Jennifer Aniston sweater. Well, that sweater was 20 years ago. That color's no longer in fashion. That sweater is no longer being made. It really gets down not to technology. You could click and buy, but the time between when you make a show and you put the fashion in and when it gets seen and you got all these supply chain issues. So you're never going to get to the buy it now kind of thing, for the most part. But it's really all about get the look. You don't want the sweater she wore. You want to maintain the fashion sense that she had. So there's got to be a collaboration between the people who design the clothes, the people who decide what goes into the shows, and the food chain in the media world. Because at the end of the day, if an actress is wearing a sweater and you're going to sell that sweater, trust me that next time the contracts come up, that actress is going to want their piece, and the TV network is going to want their piece. So you got to think of the whole food chain.
Yeah. A lot of mouths to feed.
It's a lot of different notches, And I think this question pretty much goes for anybody, because I'm kind of springboarding off of what you said, Larry, is where you're talking about, or you kind of piggybacked off of it too, Molly, when you said a lot of mouths to feed. When you think about the consumer, right, you think about the viewers that are watching, how do you, I guess, I'm trying to think of how I really want to phrase this question. Those that are consuming all of this, right? And when you think about what you said there about the Jennifer Aniston, that sweater is no longer available. Making the fashion that people see on TV, whether it is the Kardashians or in Just Like That, so that it can be consumer friendly, right? When we're thinking about budgets and whatnot, getting that look, maybe it's for a little bit cheaper, or getting that look so that when they do click on that button to go to that website, it's available. And I'm opening that question up to anybody in terms of the thought process behind that and making sure that it is able to get to that consumer in a way that is quick, easy, and hopefully affordable.
It's in the hands of technology, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of getting that exact sweater to the market, I mean, one of the things you don't want to do is set up people for disappointment. You don't want somebody clicking and that sweater is no longer available or stuff like that, because then they don't come back. So to me, it really is about getting the style, getting the look. Because again, as a TV person, the first time a TV show's on, I don't make any money. Typically, I'm deficit financing those things, so I lose money. But if my shows are good, they'll actually go to reruns, or they'll get syndicated or international and stuff. That's where the money comes in. So you take a show like Friends, I mean, those things are still being shown 20 years later. But all the clothes she wore are not in style anymore. So it's really, working in collaboration with the people who are making the TV show, with people who are dressing everybody, and coming up with something where you could present the style that will go on, knowing that in 20, hopefully my shows are going to run for 20 years. I have one or two that have, actually. But that's where the money comes in. So as a TV person, that's what I'm interested in, is how I'm going to develop a sustaining revenue stream.
Yeah, and Danny and I aren't salespeople.
Yeah.
We are telling a story, and we have a script, and that's what we're interested in. That people are interested in getting what's on that show. That's a compliment, because my next job, if it's a cop show, it won't be the same experience for sure. So I'm definitely not a salesperson, and I'm not in the fitting room premeditating anything, trends, in nothing. It's just what looks good.
Well, and when you think about that in terms of what looks good, can you talk a little bit about how costume designers and stylists work with these big brands and how that process is, right? Like from start to finish. And that's for either you, Danny, it's for you, Molly.
I mean, we work with all the brand, with the brands and stuff like that when we work with them, but it's never thought out that much. I mean, like I said, we have to really want to put it on the actor. The actor has to want to wear it. It has to be something that works for the scene and for what we want it to look like. We're not thinking there like, well, what's that good, how's the reaction going to be on that piece? When we're creating our stuff, it's very collaborative. It's collaborative with the actors. Molly and I, we talk a lot and we put things together and stuff like that. But we're sort of in this little bubble when we're creating this stuff. And we just don't really think that way, that we're trying to make something that we think it's going to go viral. It just sort of happens to happen because there are so many eyes on the show and there's such a huge fan base on it. But we really don't intentionally try to make anything and pick something out and say, well, that's what's going to be, people are going to go crazy for, we're going to create this trend. It just doesn't happen that way.
And piggybacking off of that a little bit in terms of evolution here, you know, how that has evolved over time, right? When you're working with brands, you know, now in 2023, how maybe that looks different than maybe it did back in the 90s or early 2000s.
Well, you no longer visit showrooms like you used to. That was really fun to go touch things. Now you have friends and you email them. You email Valentino and say, send me everything. We can't afford your bags. And it's just good to work with friends and people that, I mean, it's a commercial for them.
Yeah.
It works both ways. We get a beautiful bag that we don't have the budget for, and they get to showcase their handbag.
And they're just so generous to loan it to us, but we never promise that we're going to use that piece. You know, it's something that we can't decide because we don't know how it's going to work out, if it really is something that we want to use for that moment or that scene. So they're just very nice with us. They're very helpful to lend us these things. We have them in the room. Sometimes we have to trade it out because, you know, it needs to go someplace else, so we'll get an outfit in that maybe just showed in a collection. We get to try it on the actor. If it's something that we want to use, then we call it back. It's something that, you know, like magazines do, or, you know, lots of other actors do for red carpet events and things like that. They'll take it, they'll fit it, and then they'll call it back in again. We'll let them know how long we need to hold on to the piece. And some people just let us have, you know, pieces for the whole time that we're shooting. It's all different with everything, but we don't promise anything. I mean, we can't, you know, because we never know what we're going to use. And we don't really look at it that way. We're not there to sort of create, you know, anything other than what we need to do, which is a beautiful outfit for
To
the
tell the
scene,
story.
To tell the
Yeah.
story.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wish I had a penny for every pigeon that sold last year.